Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, we're making our way through the Legacy comic book series by John Ostrander, and today I want to talk about issues 28 through 31. This is the final conclusion of the Vector crossover. Now, it's been a while since I've talked about Celeste Moore, if you remember her. She is the Jedi that back during the Old Republic, she found a Sith amulet called the Myrrh Talisman, I believe. And so what Zane Carrick did before it could possess her, turn her to the dark side, he put her in a stasis capsule and basically to just kind of, stop or slow down the effects of the Sith amulet. And throughout several comic book series in the Rebellion era and so on, Dark Times 2, we have been following her misadventures and her quest to get rid of this Sith amulet. Well, it finally comes to conclusion in this final big Star Wars comic book. First time ever, first time crossover between the comic books, way in the future as her stasis capsule comes up once again with Cade Skywalker and friends. Now, I've talked about this. The idea of the crossover started when they said, comic books have crossovers all the time. How can we do a crossover with Star Wars since these take places in different eras? And that's when they came up with this story. And each writer got to write one part of the story. They kind of got together, did one big story arc, and then just passed that ball along. So these all came out at the same time, basically, in the order they were released, with Legacy being the last one, but it was a big crossover event. And I, for one, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the idea. The whole thing about the Sith talisman and stuff and having her frozen and everything, I guess that works. That's fine. But I just like the idea that they tried to attempt it. Yeah, I wasn't wild when I heard about a crossover either, but after reading, I was like, that wasn't so bad. And my complaint has been, and in some of these it's true, this kind of takes a break. A lot of writers made this the focus of their story. They were in between arcs and they thought, this is some nice filler. And so they wrote it. So for those, couple of issues, that's all that they're talking about is the Vector storyline. Well, John Ostrander, who knew he had to include this in, basically weaves this story in with his story. So you're not really sidetracked, or I didn't feel you were sidetracked as much as you were in the other comic books with the Vector storyline, because he fit Vector right in with his storyline too and kind of merged the two. So yeah, you were reading a crossover and other events were happening, but other things were taking place that were just as impactful in the series as a whole. And I don't know if anyone could have done it better than John Ostrander and how he did it. I thought he really did a good job. John Jackson Miller for Knights of the Old Republic, who started, he had a great series too, because it started in his era, and then he passed the ball down. But John Ostrander really tied it up really great, and there's a lot of, and by the way, the story is over. It does end, her adventure and her conclusion, which I'm not going to spoil because I don't have to. They don't mention it later on in the comic books. But the whole Vector storyline, like I said, I talked about this years ago on my channel. It's been a while since I've talked about Vector. But now here's finally the conclusion that we see. And yeah, I like it. Now, if you read these in chronological order, there's probably no way on earth you'll remember who this character is. You have to go back and read it all. So you probably want to read all the Vector storyline all together and then reread the story again when you get to Legacy, because there are some important things that happen in Cade Skywalker's world too, or his storyline, that are impacted during the Vector crossover. But overall, I did enjoy the Vector storyline. I'm glad we got to see its conclusion. I was happy with the conclusion, and I'm glad that John Ostrander didn't let that sideline his main story. All right, folks, that's it for now. See you next time with another video.